Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Spin Cycle Live. I'm your host, Nathan Hale, here in the flesh once again. It is another beautiful week here in the United States. And by golly, do we have so much to talk about. But how are you all doing? I know I ask this every episode, but I just really want to know, how's everyone doing? How is everyone doing this lovely Monday? If you're here in the Midwest, it's a nice day out here, at least where I am. It's like 76 degrees outside right now. It's beautiful. I got a short sleeve shirt on. I got the windows open. Beautiful day here. Beautiful weather. Bright blue skies. Oh, feels great to be an American today. But how are you doing? I hope you're doing good. I hope it's warming up wherever you are. Hopefully you hate the cold as much as I do and are ready for the heat to come on in and go all scorched earth on us. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it to be sunny. I'm ready for it to be shorts, short sleeve shirts. I'm done with it. I'm ready to break out all my summer clothes that have been collecting dust in the closet for all these months. But my gosh, we have so much to talk about today. So let's get right into it. Do not let me delay us any further than I absolutely need to. But I hope you all are having a good Monday. Let's get right into our first story. So first story comes from Blaze Media, and this is all about the new DHS app that the Trump administration has just pushed out. So Trump administration has gone from just collecting up illegal immigrants and just like shoving them away to saying like, hey, if you know you're here illegally, why don't you just let us know that you left and we good. Just exit stage left right now. Just go for it, So Trump's DHS makes big changes to app used by Biden to let illegal immigrants into the US. The Trump administration is using the same app that the Biden-Harris administration used to legally allow illegal aliens into the United States in an effort to decrease illegal crossings. But this time, it's being used to encourage those same people to leave the country. The CBP One app was redesigned during the Biden-Harris administration to avoid the poor optics of large numbers of illegal border crossings. By setting up an appointment, migrants in Mexico could enter the US through a port of entry, and then be released via mass parole. Around 1 million people were let into the country through the app before President Donald Trump ordered a halt to the appointments. 1 million people. Oh my God. All of the people were just letting into our country before Trump showed up and put a stop to all this that we don't know anything about. They're unvetted. We don't know where they're coming from. Shameful that we had this as a president before Trump. It's really, I feel like it's opening a lot of people's eyes to the fact that we really did not have a president for like 4 years, right? All right. CBP One has now been redesigned as CBP Home, an app which provides users and other illegal immigrants can register themselves and provide proof that they have left the United States to avoid the penalties that come with being deported by the federal government. So Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, said, with the launching of the CBP One Home app, we are restoring integrity to our immigration system. The CBP Home app gives aliens the option to leave now and self-deport, so they may have the opportunity to return legally in the future and live the American dream. If they don't, we will find them and we will deport them and they will never return. Good. These are criminals. I saw, who was it? Ilhan Omar or one of the Democrats was like, illegal immigrants have committed no crimes, right? And it always makes me laugh whenever I hear, that statement coming from the Democrats of, they've committed no crimes. That the illegal aliens are just migrants. They're just coming in here. They haven't done anything wrong. It's like, they're literally breaking our laws. They've literally crossed a sovereign border, which everywhere else in the world looks at it as a crime. Some places will treat them a whole lot more harshly than the United States would. And we just said we're doing nothing about it. It's just crazy to me that people have it in their head that it is okay to come into our country and just like exist here and not be a citizen and not have any sort of documentation, not do anything to make yourself known to our government. For the party that is so adamant about people paying their fair share of taxes, all of a sudden that entirely goes away when we're talking about illegal immigrants coming into our country, right? So great news coming from this. I think this is great. This is great. Make it easier for them. Hell, we're shipping them out anyways. See ya. Fill out the form. Be on your merry little way. We'll see you if you ever want to come back and actually document yourself with us. All right. Our next story comes once again from Tim Walz. Tim Walz he will not go away. He's starting to turn into Stacey Abrams, I feel like. Do you all remember Stacey Abrams? Stacey Abrams, the former, wasn't she like the co-chair of the DNC or something? But I think she ran for governor of Colorado, or not Colorado, of Georgia at one point. And all the Democrats were saying, oh, she's a rising star in the Democratic Party. Stacey Abrams is this rising star. And she just never went away. Like every single news show they had Stacey Abrams on. Everywhere we were talking about how amazing Stacey Abrams is as a Democrat. She's a rising star. This is exactly what's happening to fucking Tim Walz now. Is he's coming out and acting like he is this rising star, as if we didn't name him, as if he's not Tampon Tim out here. Let's never forget Tampon Tim. But Democrats think that Tim Walz is a rising star, apparently. So Tim Walz seems to think that the Democrats should have played it too safe in 2024. Played it too safe, and it caused them to lose. So here's Tim Walz's thoughts. So Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is reflecting on his and former Vice President Kamala Harris's loss in last year's presidential election. And he said he thinks Democrats should have been bolder in their campaign to hold on to the White House. They weren't bold enough, guys. Quote, "We shouldn't have been playing this thing so safe," Tim Walz told Politico in a recent interview from Montana. What is he doing in Montana is beyond me. Quote, "I think we probably should have just rolled the dice and done the town halls where voters may say, quote, 'You're full of shit. I don't believe you.' I think there could have been more of that," he said. Walz, who was a member of Congress before he became governor in 2019, was tapped to become Harris's 2024 running mate in August, just 2 weeks into an accelerated campaign overhaul that followed then President Biden's decision to drop out of the race. Quote, "In football parlance, we were in a prevent defense to not lose when we never had anything to lose, but I don't think we were ever ahead," Walz, a former high school football coach, said. I cannot stand Tim Walz. I never got his appeal. I never understood why so many people were like fondling over him and why they thought he was such an amazing guy. He just kind of seems like a bumbling idiot to me. He's just kind of running around. But so he says the Democrats played it too safe, or they played it too safe. Is safe in the room with us, Tim Walz? Is it in the room? Is it a presence in the room right now? Because from my perspective, I think Democrats went way too extreme. They ran Kamala Harris, right? They ran Kamala Harris, who is the most radical Democratic senator before she became vice president. They ran her to cover up Joe Biden's disaster, and she ran an awful campaign. What do you mean that you were too bold? Is bold in the room with us, right? You were too bold with this, or you were too safe. You saying he's too safe? That's right. And they need to go further. I think that Kamala Harris was a very bold choice. I mean, when you look at the field, there really wasn't anyone else too much better than her. I mean, I think Democrats would have had a better shot at winning had they polled some like unknown like state rep out of somewhere and just like push that person to the mainstream. But people don't like Kamala Harris. She's kind of annoying to listen to. She's constantly laughing. She has no policy positions. He says that what did he say? That they should have done the town hall route. Do you know why they didn't do the town hall route? Because Kamala Harris can't win in a debate. Did you see her on stage with Trump? We saw her on stage 4 years ago, right? We know what she's like. She can't string together 2 sentences to save her life, right? This is the woman who is in love with Venn diagrams and electric school buses, right? So there's a reason why they didn't do the town hall route. And Tim Walz is a bumbling idiot. He can't hold himself up in a town hall either if he's debating with someone, right? These guys can only support their points if they're being fed softball questions, and they don't have any real competition. Put Charlie Kirk up there with one of these guys and see how they crumble apart, right? So I think it's so funny that he's coming out here trying to say what they did wrong, acting as if like, oh, Kamala Harris was a perfect candidate, Tim Walz himself was B and also a perfect candidate, and see that they weren't 2 of the most radical Democrats in the entire country. The Democrats said, all right, we're going to run Joe Biden in 2020 because we don't have anyone better. And Joe Biden, you know, he's lived his career. He's a little bit of a moderate on certain issues. We can play him as a moderate and everything, right? He's had a long political career and everything. We'll just have him be a sitting duck and let Donald Trump dig himself into a hole, right? That worked in 2020. 2024, they said, well, you know, even though that worked, let's just go even farther to the left and run the most crazed radical Democrats that we can find around. I mean, Gavin Newsom would have been a better choice than Kamala Harris, and Gavin Newsom's a nutcase too. So, needless to say, all ridiculous. And I think it's so funny these Democrats are running cover for each other. They have no idea what hit them. And I hope that they do not get their act together for another 8 years. I truly don't. I hope that I hope that they land on their backs and just have to squirm there for a while to get flipped over until they can start to rebuild and maybe actually realize that their positions are not winning positions, right? These are not nationally, these are not positions that the nation feels as a whole. They might win on a state level, but not on a nationwide level, right? We need to get back to a point in American politics where we had differing opinions, but we all were striving for the same general thing. Right now, we have 2 separate parties that both have different positions on basically every matter that are polar opposites of each other and not a whole lot of nuance. I try to bring in some nuance on this show, but even I struggle sometimes with how ridiculous these folks are. All right. So let's move on to a little bit of international news. So going up to Canada, the Canadians. So Mark Carney, what a name, Mark Carney, named Liberal leader, will replace Trudeau as Canada's next prime minister. So bit of recap before we get into the story. So Justin Trudeau stepping down from prime minister, can't handle it anymore. Justin can't handle the job anymore. He's too tired. He's been doing it for too long, guys. He's ready to back out before he absolutely loses an election, and they can't win nationwide anymore up there in Canada. The Liberals can't, right? So we all know that the Conservatives are probably going to get majority in the next election that's coming up later this year. So they're installing Mark Carney for a little bit of time. So Mark Carney, was a big wig in the Liberal Party and everything, and it'll be interesting to see how he does. So he'll be taking over for Justin Trudeau for a few months until the Liberals inevitably lose and Pierre Poilievre can take over and become the next Prime Minister of Canada. Good on you, Canada. Good on you, Canada. Get some Conservatives in there. All right. Mark Carney has won the race to lead Canada's Liberal Party, securing his place as the country's next prime minister. The former governor of the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England will now replace Justin Trudeau as leader, taking office at a time of heightened tensions and with U.S. President Donald Trump. A short transition will take place over the next week, with Carney expected to officially take over in the coming days. During his victory speech, Carney said he will lead with, quote, fiscal responsibility, social justice, and international leadership. Whoa. Social justice? Even more of it in Canada? Like they don't have enough already? He credited Trudeau with transforming Canada. Justin Trudeau certainly did transform Canada into a hellhole. By uplifting children out of poverty, moving reconciliation forward, and defending freedom and democracy here and throughout the world. How exactly did Justin Trudeau, first off, how did he defend democracy in Canada, let alone throughout the rest of the world? Let us not forget about the COVID times when Justin Trudeau shut down the entire country and like forbid people from entering Canada for like any reason, shut down the provinces so that truck drivers could not get over it. Let us not forget the truck driver rebellion of what was it, 2020 or 2021, whenever that happened, right? Because, you know, they were not getting their jobs done. Right? Remember all the truck drivers in Canada, the Canadian truck drivers? I wish we saw something like that again. It was a beautiful sight. If you don't remember the Canadian truck drivers, please go look them up. They're great people. Let us not forget the attacks on freedom of speech in Canada. Is it not Canada that shut down news platforms from publishing on social media platforms? Right? If you're a Canadian, I don't think you can see like CNN stuff on Twitter, can you? Or like Instagram or anything, or Facebook, things like that, right? Didn't Canada like pass legislation like can't like operate on those platforms or something like that? I seem to remember something like that happening. Let us not forget that Canada is the country that that made it a crime to not use someone's preferred pronouns. Don't forget about all the legal battles that Jordan Peterson has been facing right now with being re-educated by a Canadian official about how he should be behaving on social media and everything, right? That's all happening right now. This is what Mark Carney calls defending freedom and democracy here in Canada, right? Shameful. All right, Mark Carney, let's see how you can drive Canada even deeper into a hole in the coming months before an election takes place. I truly hope that it doesn't get worse than it is now, but I fear it will. And I fear that the Liberals are going to lose very hard in the Canadian elections. Like, it's not fair, actually. It's not fair. Take that back. I yearn, I dream for winning for the Canadians. I respect the Canadians a lot. I know many Canadians. They're very nice people. And I would like them to live in a country that doesn't hate them, right? So, all right, Mark Carney, let's see what you can do. It's gonna be a carnival up there in Canada for a while. All right. Let's talk about Bernie Sanders, another Democrat that rising star Democrat, right? He just kind of sticks around. He's kind of turning to like Hillary Clinton and Tim Walz apparently, where he just kind of sticks around, right? He's just kind of always there, and he pops up wherever he's like not needed, right? Excuse me, he's not a Democrat. He's a social democrat. He's a liberal socialist or whatever, a democratic socialist. That's what we call him. He always himself a democratic socialist. Bernie Sanders with the points, right? Drawing huge crowds, Bernie Sanders steps into leadership of the anti-Trump resistance. I've never heard any of the anti-Trump resistance, but okay, let's hear what AP has to say. It's out in Michigan. So Bernie Sanders is standing alone on the back of a pickup truck, shouting into a bullhorn. Bernie Sanders, really, really down to earth guy. Bernie Sanders, he's on the back of a pickup truck. They gave him a bullhorn and everything, right? He's one of us. He's just a regular dude, like the rest of us are, right? Quote: what all of this tells me. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Let me give you a little bit. So. He's facing hundreds of ecstatic voters huddled outside a suburban Detroit high school, the group that did not fit inside the high school's gym or 2 overflow rooms. The crowd screams in delight when he tells them that a combined total of 9,000 people had shown up for the rally. Quote, "What all this tells me is not just in Michigan or in Vermont, that the people of this country will not allow us to move toward oligarchy. We will not allow Trump to take us into authoritarianism," Sanders yelled. "We're prepared to fight and we're going to win." Right? At 83 years old, he looks 83. He's showing it, pushing 83 hard. Sanders is not running for president again, thank God. But the stooped and silver-haired democratic socialist, has emerged as a leader of the resistance to Donald Trump's second presidency. In tearing into Trump's seizure of power and warning about the consequences of firing tens of thousands of government workers, Sanders is buckling the wishes of those who want Democrats to focus on the price of eggs or roll over and play dead. For now, at least, Sanders stands alone as the only elected progressive willing to mount a national campaign to harness the fear and anger of the sprawling anti-Trump movement. Oh, doesn't get you all riled up, all the fear and anger against Donald Trump in this country. Right. This is a classic trend for Democrats, I feel like, where they're constantly so angry. They're so angry. I mean, the AP, a left-wing news organization, is categorizing Democrats as fearful and angry. They're constantly fearful and angry. Of what, I ask? Of what is happening? Right. What is happening to the Democrats where they're so fearful and angry? It's something in the water, I swear. It's something in the water, right? I mean... Look at all these people in the crowd. That girl's wearing a mask in the front row. That girl's wearing a mask back there too. All of these mask-wearing people out here in the crowd of the Bernie Sanders rally at a local school in Michigan. What is Bernie Sanders doing in Michigan? He's a senator from Vermont. What's he doing there? He has no business going. First, Tim Walz is in Montana. Now Bernie Sanders is in Michigan, right? What's happening right now? Bernie Sanders has been around in government longer than I have been alive, right? And that's saying something. And he still has yet to bring forward a position that's actually justifiable, right? Socialism is not a winning issue, right? He's campaigning. He's saying, oh, look at all these people. I got 9,000 people to show up to my little rally in Michigan. That's probably all the Bernie Sanders supporters in Michigan. There's probably only about 9,000 of them, right? Not that many. And it blows my mind that people grapple so strongly to the Bernie Sanders philosophy of socialism, his brand of democratic socialism. Newsflash: democratic socialism is still socialism, right? It's the same thing that's happening. So it makes me laugh. I think it's really cute. But just a quick update on Bernie Sanders. I'm glad he's getting on the back of a truck. He's got a little winter coat on. He's just a normal guy. He's just a normal guy like you and I. So we'll keep an eye on Bernie Sanders and see what he does for the rest of this. I also think it's funny that he's like, we're fighting oligarchy. Where is the oligarchy in the room with us? Where is the oligarchy at? What I see is a president who is elected democratically, won the most amount of electoral votes that a Republican president won since 2004, and flipped every single swing state in his direction. That doesn't sound like oligarchy to me, right? That's when like people call like Donald Trump a racist, and then he's like constantly like appointing black people to like positions of power and like, you know, doing things for the black community and everything. Or like they say that he's like, you know, against gay people and he's appointing gay people in the cabinet positions, and like, you know, he's a racist, right? All these things, right? If Donald Trump is a part of an oligarchy. He's a part of like the worst oligarchy in like history of the world, right? So same thing. Like if Donald Trump's a racist, he's like the worst racist ever. So it's nothing but fluff. It's nothing but trying to get people to be mobilized and think that their rights are being taken away from them. For some reason, democratic socialism is the way to go. Old man. Get all these old people out of government. They're not relevant anymore. They have no position to lecture us and the general public about anything, especially people my age, right? I'm 20 years old. This guy, I'm 21. He's, what is it, 86? We're completely different people. How does he know the struggles that young people are facing in this country when he is that old, right? I would never get on a soapbox and claim to know the struggles that senior citizens in this country, such as Bernie Sanders, who belong in a nursing home, are going through right now, because I'm not 86 years old. All right. Let's move on to some State Department news. So even some news about USAID. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio announces that 83% of USAID programs are canceled. Musk calls move tough but necessary. So it's from the Daily Wire. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced Monday that 83% of the programs at the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, are being canceled following a 6-week review. The 5,200 contracts that are now canceled spent tens of billions of dollars in ways that did not serve, and in some cases even harmed, the core national interests of the United States. The remaining 18%, around 1,000 programs, will be administered, quote, more effectively by the State Department, according to Rubio. Totally fair judgment here, right? They stepped out of bounds. They're getting their wings clipped. The important parts of USAID should always have been a part of the Department of State, Musk said. The State Department elevated over 9,100 grants worth $15.9 billion, an international government document obtained by the Daily Wire reads, quote, at the conclusion of an exhaustive review led by the career FSOs and reviewed by senior political leadership, including the secretary, over 4,100 grants worth nearly $4.4 billion were identified or eliminated, a 28% reduction in total grant value over the course of the 15-day review. That's great. That's great. More reductions. Slash it. Slash it. Slash it. Move that money back in the United States. Do stuff for our citizens. We need USAID for US citizens, right? Why are we sending all this money internationally when we have homeless people in the United States? Why are we sending all this money internationally when we have people on the streets of California getting high and passing on the sidewalks? Why are we sending all this money to international agencies and NGOs and all these other international groups when we have so many problems here in the United States alone, right? That money, if it's being spent, should be spent on our citizens, not on other people's citizens. I only care about America. I do not care about other countries nearly as much as I care about America. I want everyone to live the best lives they can, but ultimately I live in America. My tax money is being paid to America, not some other country. I want that money to benefit us in the United States, right? So that is a great move. Slash all of it. Let's go. All right. Last story that we have to cover. So this comes from Reuters. So the U.S. Supreme Court to hear challenge to Colorado gay conversion therapy ban. This is going to be an interesting one. I really couldn't tell you how the justices are going to align, because they've been kind of flippy floppy when it comes to legislation like this. So it'll be interesting to see how they rule. So. The U.S. Supreme Court agreed on Monday to hear a Christian therapist challenge on free speech grounds to a Democrat-backed Colorado law banning conversion therapy intended to change a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity. The justices took up an appeal by licensed counselor Kelly Childs of a lower court's decision, rejecting her claim that the 2019 statute unlawfully censors her communications with clients in violation of the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment protections against government abridgment of speech. The state has said it is regulating professional conduct, not speech. The justices are expected to hear the matter during the next term, which begins in October. Colorado is among more than 24 other states and the District of Columbia that restrict or prohibit conversion therapy for minors. Childs is represented by the Alliance Defending Freedom, super homophobic group, the Alliance Defending Freedom. I will not work with any of them. I've had several people reach out wanting to work with me in the past for different projects. I will not work with these people, right? Won't do it. Colorado's law prohibits licensed mental health care providers from engaging in, quote, conversion therapy with parents younger than the age of 18, with violations punishable by disciplinary action before a state licensing board. The law defines conversion therapy as efforts to, quote, change an individual's sexual orientation or gender identity, including efforts to change behaviors or gender expression, or to eliminate or reduce sexual or romantic attraction or feelings towards individuals of the same sex. So let's talk about what's happening here. I don't know how much longer it is going to take to move the fact that sexual orientation and gender identity are two completely different topics independent of one another, right? They're not the same thing. LGBT and T, totally different groups. I don't mind if you want to merge people together like that to some extent, right? I have plenty of transgender friends. I'm friendly with the transgender community. Of course I am. I have no issue with them whatsoever as long as they provide the respect that other people deserve and they realize that they're not actually women or they're not actually men, right? And you have that energy and the respect towards them. But sexual orientation and gender identity are two completely different things. So I'll break it down for you. Sexual orientation, right, is like being gay, right? That's like being attracted to the same sex, right? I still know that I'm a guy, right? I'm not wanting to cut off any parts of my body, right? I'm not suicidal, right? I'm not seeking any sort of medication or anything to change the way that my body functions in any way. I'm just not attracted to women like that, right? Gender identity is like what transgenderism is, where you're changing your identity, you're changing things like your pronouns, you're changing the way that your bodies function either medically or surgically or socially, right? That's a totally different thing than me like, oh, I'm just attracted to dudes, right? Totally different thing, right? So the fact that we're even putting those together in the same thing, I think separates a lot of or makes a lot of confusion in bills like this. So I'm in favor of banning gay conversion camps, right, or gay conversion therapy. There have been so many people who have been harmed by that in the past, especially when it's done through a religious lens. I've seen it happen to people around me, and it's not good. It's not a good situation, and I think it just provides more mental disorder than you might have previously already had. That being said, when it comes to the gender expression, gender identity, transgender issues, I think it's totally rational to allow therapy for minors on this attempt, right? Oftentimes people who are having gender issues, right, where they're not sure about if they're a boy or a girl, whatever, they're suffering from other things, right? They're autistic. Oftentimes they have other things that are happening in their lives that are causing them to feel this way, that are not just like, they feel like they're. And a lot of times they're just gay, right? So I think allowing therapy and stuff in that manner, I think is perfectly reasonable. I'm not totally clear on how this bill defines what therapy is and what conversion is. So I mean, does conversion in that sense mean like, hey, if you're saying that you're a boy when you're actually a girl, that conversion means saying, no, you're not actually a girl, you are still a boy. Maybe wait a little bit longer to make those decisions for yourself. And maybe you actually have some depression, and maybe you're actually autistic. Maybe if we help you with that, you'll feel a bit better about this. Or maybe you're just actually gay, right? So I'm not totally sure what conversion in the sense of the transgender issue is, but I don't totally have an issue on the practice of this. So I'm interested to know what the actual like real world implications of this legislation are, but gay conversion therapy should be banned everywhere. It's not. It's pseudoscience. Doesn't do anything. All of the people who I've seen who have undergone gay conversion are very much still gay. They've just shoved themselves way back into the back of the closet, and oftentimes the closet's made of glass. So we'll be sure to update you sometime after, I guess, October about whatever their ruling on this is. But it'll be interesting to see. So I suspect that they'll send this back to the lower courts and say, hey, states can make up their minds on this however they want to do it. But it'll be interesting to see how they decide all of this. But that's all that I have to talk about today. We went a little bit over time. But thank you all for watching so much. I appreciate every single person coming here. If you are not following me on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok, on YouTube, I'm at Homonatian on all those platforms. Give me a follow over there. If you follow me on X, you're going to be getting the most amount of updates from me. So go make sure you give me a follow there. If you want to interact with me, send me a message or anything. I'm usually pretty good about getting back with this. Just don't be weird with me, right? If you want to send me a compliment, I'll take it, right? I love to get compliments. I love to hear how I'm doing and everything. Do that if you'd like to, but definitely give me a follow over there. Go and share my content. Let people know how great this show is and how much joy you're getting out of these 40 minutes that we have twice a week, right? I have a hell of a time doing it and I enjoy it. So I hope that you're enjoying it too. And our viewership is growing with every single episode. So we go up just a little bit more. And the more people we have watching, the more people will be getting great quality content from this guy, right? I give you the good news stories, right? Who else are you hearing about these stories from, right? I feel like, at least from my perspective, I try and talk about things I don't see a whole lot of other people talking about. Try and differentiate myself to you all, but follow me over there, right? If you showed up at the end, you can watch all this stream back on my X page. You can rewind it after it uploads, but we also have it up on Rumble and on YouTube. You can go over there and watch all the playback and everything. If you want to watch old episodes, they're back there too. If you love hearing about loudmouth ramble on and on and on like this, there's plenty of content that I've done in the past. If you want to have a blast from the past, one of the best episodes I think we did is you might want to go back and relive our election night stream that we did, or we did another stream about the inauguration. Both of those were absolutely phenomenal. So with that, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out. Bye.